We all need them. We all need some strategies for living. So, are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose?
I've got to be.
Radio Rehab.
I'm ready.
Are you listening?
I hope they're ready.
Yeah.
I hope they're listening.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about listening this evening. But before we do that, Jay and I have some important things to, business we're discussing here.
Okay.
Yeah. And the announcement is, if either one of us win the
Mega
Millions, we are.
I'll give you $1 million.
And I'll give you $1 million and Jimmie $1 million. And more important, I'm not saying that's not important, Jimmie and
what's
Jay.
$1 million?
Yeah, but the more important thing is not going anywhere, win or lose.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here. Yeah.
It won't spoil us.
No. I mean, we may broadcast occasionally from our
island.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, welcome into, you're listening to all the craziness that we call Strategies for Living, right? Here on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He is Jimmie Bryant, Ph.D. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs, and he is Jay Merle.
Back for the count.
But there you go. And $3.
Yeah.
Win or lose, isn't the dreaming worth $3? Huh?
What would I do with all that money?
Yeah,
and that's the dream. It's good to have a dream. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
and we'll all know tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whether you won or I won, because it couldn't be anything else.
We stay up late and watch, and I'll give you a copy of this. You can call me.
You got.
Oh, wait. Let's just wait till tomorrow.
We'll just wait till
Surprises are nice, right, Jimmie?
That's right.
They
sure are.
There you go. Now, see what we're demonstrating here, because we're demonstrating here, I think, something that we probably could talk about today.
What's that?
And listening without giving advice. I don't know. Did we give advice to each other?
Not really.
I don't think so, no.
Okay. All right. So there's our topic for the day.
We're
going to talk about how to listen without giving advice, because, let's face it. Giving advice is extremely tempting.
It is.
I mean, you want to do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
because you want to help.
But it's not always, even though people ask us about things, our advice is not always wanted. So we're going to talk this evening about developing skills to be a better listener and a supporter of people around us.
I like this.
That's our topic this evening.
I love
on strategies.
I love going.
Are you listening, Jimmie?
I love how we're going here from yesterday too, because yesterday we talked about confidence.
That's true.
And
That's
the importance of support.
Yeah,
and
so it's kind of melding, if you will.
Makes a lot of sense.
Hey, folks, thank you. Appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors here on Strategies for a Living: Pintail Roofing,
Roof.
the Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Learning RX, Hempress, Cannabis with Love at 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment. How do we listen? How do you listen without giving advice? We're talking about it this evening, right here on Strategies for Living. Come back with us.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning Rx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning Rx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning Rx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning Rx Shreveport.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
Welcome into Strategies for Living. Jimmie, Bryant, Jay Merle, David McMillian. We're talking about how do we listen? How do we listen without giving advice? I mean, listening to somebody without telling them what to do. That can be a challenge. So practicing active listening and particularly compassion for others maybe can help us listen without, we in today's world, we want to share our opinions, don't we? We all have one. So, when you listen to somebody talk about their challenges, about whatever's going on in their life, you want to give that advice, but we got to remember that sometimes that advice is unsolicited. So there are some ways, and we're going to talk about those ways this evening. There's some ways to listen without automatically inserting your opinion or stating, well, this is what I would do.
As my grandma would say, your 2 cents.
Your 2 cents, yes. So you may have had similar experiences to this person who's asking you, and still, it may be better to just actively listen, because that person may not want so much advice as they want understanding, and that's where the compassion comes in, right?
Yeah, it's been my experience or what I try to do is don't offer advice unless I'm invited in.
Yeah.
Because to do otherwise is to intrude. And oftentimes people, I think this is where you're going, They just want to get it off their chest.
Many times, yes.
And they just want to verbalize it. That's especially true sometimes in marriages. It's I've observed that I'd take my wife, for example. She doesn't want to tell me how to fix her problem. She wants to, and she wants to explain to me what's been going on.
Right.
Just to listen,
right.
And that's okay. And it's taken me a while to understand that concept.
Well, from a male, the males are kind of,
we fix things.
We're kind of it's factory installed in us to, get the tools out and solve the problems. Yeah. Here's where you should do it.
Yeah, big mistake.
It is. It can be a big one in a marriage. It can.
Yeah.
And yet, I think there are times and places where our advice, our counsel is perhaps needed. I can't tell you how many times, Jimmie and Jay, in the 30 years that I actively was in the counseling room, practicing, and I don't know how many people through that 30 years. There were a lot because I got busy. I was real busy for the majority, thankfully, for the majority of my time practicing. And so, you see a lot of new people that you don't know. And I can't even begin to tell you how many times this happened over and over and over. After the first session, people would walk out and say some variation of, wow, I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm. And you haven't said a word.
And I really didn't say any, especially in that first session, it's really the only questions that are asked are really kind of probing to bring it along and get more information to be able to, because in a counseling relationship, you typically, it takes 2 or 3 sessions to kind of get a grip on, okay, what's really going on here? Yeah, what's really the issue here? Yeah. Are the issues here? And so, invariably in those first few sessions, even though I did very little, people would walk out and say variations of, I feel so much better.
Well, you were building trust, for one thing.
You were building trust and holding space.
You're empathizing.
Holding space. And that's what I want to throw out.
That's interesting. How do you mean holding space?
Well, just to hold in the counseling room, I was holding space in a counseling.
Right. You were there.
I was there, but you can hold space for someone at Starbucks, at a table at Starbucks. Sure. You can hold space for someone over a cup of coffee in the break room. Holding space simply means that you're communicating without necessarily words. You're communicating to that person that I'm listening.
You're present.
I'm present, and I'm hearing you. And what are you and I doing right now?
I'm listening.
You're listening. How do you know? How do I know you're listening? And how do you know that I'm, that I'm hearing you? We're making eye contact.
Right.
That's part of holding space.
Right.
Our body posture is both of our bodies are aimed at each other, and we're giving it's communicating.
Well, it's good stuff. So I'm tuned in.
So,
because this is a real important thing to be able to do.
So those things I think are important to think about. Of course, we're strategies for a living. So when we come back from our first break here, we're going to dive in. We're going to dive into some specific strategies that you can use to hold that space and listen, truly listen without the advice giving. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'll ask Jay, you, and I'll ask you, Jimmie, and I'll give you what I think. What percentage of the time do you think we end up giving advice, not just we, the people in this room, but in totality? How many times when people come to us do we end up giving advice?
I think often.
Yeah, I do too. I think maybe it's 80%, 75 or 80% of the time.
And I think
I think that's something we need to work on.
Yeah. You got to vote on this, Jimmie?
Solicited or not.
Yeah. Solicited or not. Yeah.
I like your number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm right. I just pulled that out of the air. But, how do we really listen without advice giving? Well, maybe you need to get away. Maybe you need to get
Where
away
you
and
need to
just.
go.
I think you need to go to the Robinson Film Center if you want to get away. Yeah, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. There is absolutely no place like the Robinson, and of course Abby Singer's Bistro. Watch him over there, Jay.
It's good chow.
Yeah, it is great chow.
That's
Duck
some of the best
nachos,
chow.
the duck nachos.
Nachos to die for.
Oh man, the this chicken and andouille sausage gumbo, the chicken and waffles, the shrimp and grits.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All at Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of the Robinson Film Center, and that's not to mention the great movies that come to the Robinson. You can check out what they are right now at robinsonfilmcenter.org. Of course, we happen to see a bunch of Pink and Oppenheimer right now.
That's right.
Or what do you call it?
Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Better get in there while it's still available.
There you go. So, hey, come on in. Join the crowd. Join the fun. Become a member of the Robinson Film Center. Get discounts on movies. Get concession upgrades. Get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jay Merle and Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian. We're talking about how do we listen without advice giving. So we got to jump into some strategies because, gentlemen, we are Strategies for Living, right?
Yes.
All right, so the first strategy is, and this may sound so simple, but sometimes the simple ones are the ones that get away from us, right? And so the first strategy just is simply ask. Ask.
ASK.
Ask, yeah. So, what would you like from me? Now, they may tell you straight up, I just need you to listen. I just need somebody to listen, right?
That's a half inch off profound, David.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Just ask.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. there's a risk to in coming and sharing with anybody, and the risk is vulnerability, and that's why I think people would come to counseling, and if the counselor just listens, is a very good listener, that the space of the counseling relationship will produce positive results. So, because the person comes in, and if the person is truly there, truly for help, then that person is being vulnerable. So, when someone is sharing something with you, particularly something that you can sense, well, they're being vulnerable here. You of course, it's human nature. We want to help, right? But we need to be careful there, because it's always best to ask. Sometimes a person just really wants and even needs just a listening ear. And giving advice, sometimes can send the message, you're not really hearing me. And sometimes giving advice, if you're on that track, your mind is busy thinking,
what you're going to say next.
What am I going to say? What do I need to say? Well, if you can switch off, particularly if you ask, what do you need? I just need somebody to listen. Okay, I can switch my mind, if nothing else, onto neutral, so that I can just absorb. Then I can just listen. You might even ask somebody, do you just need to be heard? And maybe after you hear, you might ask something along the lines of, do you want my thoughts on the matter?
Right.
Yeah. And if that person says, no, I feel better now, keep your thoughts to yourself.
Yeah.
But if they do say, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, well then.
Sometimes you can elicit that same thing by asking a question that pulls them out a little bit more and might lead them to say, yeah, but what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, asking if you're real, I just think if you're really listening to somebody, you're present, questions come to mind that maybe help them take that a little deeper than maybe they thought about, but they want to do. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. However, I also think that good questioning, there's an art form to it.
Oh, totally. I agree.
And
if it's going to be productive, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Not everybody can practice that.
It's a skill. There are books on that.
There are, and I think our world today would benefit by more of us choosing to practice the art of active listening. Yeah.
So from a mentorship perspective, I think that, and this may extrapolate over, but I think that if you listen with the intent to give advice, you can deprive your mentee of the opportunity to work through things that maybe they need to sort out.
Well, and it goes back, you very astutely talked about our show last evening about confidence, building confidence. And really confident people understand there really is no such thing as a failure, if you will.
Yeah.
It's I may not have achieved what I want to
but I
yet,
learned something.
But I'm learning, And every air quote failure is a what did Lauren? She gave us she used fail as an acronym. If she's listening, she'll text it to me in a moment.
And it was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
But, I think confident people, understand there is really no such thing as failure. So that
unless
can't
you
happen.
fail to learn.
Unless you there you go.
Absolutely. That's such a great point, because if you're engaged and giving your best and doing what you can and keeping your eyes open and ears open, you're walking away with experience.
There you
go.
Absolutely. Another strategy is, and this again, our first one is just to ask. Just ask. And this one may seem simple too, but it's active listening, and it's practicing it. Practice active listening. Now, how is active listening different from just plain old run-of-the-mill listening?
Yeah.
You decide. I think that, just speaking for myself, I make a decision. I'm going to listen to what this person has to say.
Bingo.
I'm going to clear my mind of all the other stuff I've got going on and my cares and woes.
Yep.
And we've all got them.
Yep.
And I'm just going to tune all that out, and I'm going to look at this person. I'm going to listen to what they have to say. That's the way I see it.
And I think you're right on it, Jay. So I'm going to use slightly different words, but I think you've summarized what I'm going to say very well. It's listening to understand. You're making a choice and decision to listen to understand rather than to respond. You're practicing. That's what practicing active listening is. Now, the hard part about that in the world that we live in, and we're kind of programmed from being little bitty, because most of us get into school pretty early, right? And we're taught, okay, listen to the teacher, and you better be ready to respond. And I'm not taking a swipe right now at our education system. I mean, I don't have a better solution to that. I mean, there's some things I could get on and I will get on my soapbox later this year about our system of education. But that's another program.
Right.
My point is, at this time, I mean, we're taught. That's what we're taught for years and years and years. You better listen so that you can respond. And so that's kind of our go-to. That's our normal gear, right? And so to active listening asks us to do something different, to listen with the intent of understanding instead of I have to respond. So active listening, it's focusing on the speaker. It's really listening to what the speaker is saying. And that's even if you don't want to hear it. I mean, sometimes people say things that we don't want to hear and maybe even make us uncomfortable, but they still want to be heard and need to be heard, We want to use our own words instead of, we've got so many with social media. There are so many, I don't know what to call these, but we have the sayings, We have the sayings that go around and everybody uses.
Cliches.
The cliches, the trite sayings, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to practice active listening, don't use those.
No.
Use words that convey whatever it is you're wanting to convey, but use your words.
And that prove that you've heard if the moment calls for it, you can prove with your words that you've actually heard
Absolutely.
What they said. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes. And that's, you mentioned questions a moment ago.
Right.
So that what you just gave as an example is a clarifying question.
Restate the issue.
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm hearing this right. I really want to understand you, Jay. So let me ask blank,
Right.
and you can insert in there a clarifying question that lets the other person know, wow,
listened.
He's really here. He's really hearing me.
Might even triggering them some other line of thought that pertains to the same subject that they can then expound on.
Right. You want to avoid judgment. This is difficult.
That sets up an ego problem, right?
It does. But if you want to active listening is about suspending judgment.
You don't want defenses up.
You don't want defenses up. So you want to avoid judgment, and you also want to kick assumptions to the curb. Assumptions. My sixth grade teacher. Made an ass out of you and me.
Right.
And when she put that up on the board of the sixth grade at Christ the King, we all went,
look what she did,
but
sister.
But I can tell you this about Mrs. Eva Collins. I'm 60. What am I? 66 years old now. 60. What am I? 66 or 67?
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, whatever
you're going to admit to there, McMillian.
But how many years is that? How old are you when you're in the sixth grade? 12 or so.
It's 6.
Yeah.
Over 50 years,
12,
it stayed with me. That's good teaching where I come from. Yeah,
it is.
So don't make assumptions, and don't formulate a response until you've heard all of it.
Because you can't listen if you're structuring what you're going to say next.
That's right.
While they're talking.
That's right. And active listening. When you make a choice and a decision to do active listening, it will help you. I mean, that's really one of the points that I want to make. If you make a choice and decision to do this, and for a time you're suspending, you mentioned the ego a few minutes ago, you're suspending just for a time judgment and assumptions, then your presence while helping somebody else also really helps you.
I agree with that.
Because, you said it a second ago, Jay, we all have them. We all have worries and concerns.
Sure. And
so, but if you and I are engaged in a session where I'm actively listening to you, I'm putting all of those worries.
Those things can't come in.
No, not if I'm really doing what we're talking about doing this evening.
Yeah, because it's positive. All that automatic negative thinking and all those things that, I guess, from time to time we all are burdened with.
Right.
It's the human connection. It's the genuine back and forth that you care about people.
Absolutely. You're going to learn about it probably in your next class, because you're going to take theories of counseling.
I'm going to take theory, yeah.
And one of the theories that you'll probably study is something called person-centered therapy that was developed by Carl Rogers. You've probably already heard that name.
I've already seen some of it.
And he had a saying that is the heart and soul of person-centered therapy, and it's unconditional positive regard. So getting in that mindset with another human being in and of itself is a potentially healing experience for everybody involved.
Say it again. What do you call it?
Unconditional positive regard.
Wow, that's a gift.
It is a gift. It is. I tell you what else is a gift, and it's been giving for over 100 years.
What's that?
Shreveport Little Theater. Shreveport Little Theater, 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport, and been there for a long, long time. Of course, the summer musical has just wrapped up. Anything Goes was the summer musical. It was great. Now we get ready for the 102nd season, the 23-24 season.
What are the shows, David?
Always Patsy Cline in September.
I've seen that show.
Have
years ago at Shreveport Little Theater. It's great.
It's a great show.
Patsy Cline.
And then I can't wait for October and November, because that's My Way, the music of Sinatra in October and November. I don't know if you've seen the Wonderettes, any of the Wonderette shows at Shreveport Little Thing. Well, they're coming back, so you'll be able to see a brand new show.
Traveling troupe of...
No, they're folks from, I think a couple of them are from the Simple Church.
Oh, okay.
And they're
wonderful.
These ladies do a wonderful job. Winter Wonderettes is coming in December. 5 women wearing the same dresses in January. Dial M for Murder in February.
Hitchcock.
And there you go. And then Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville in April. You're going to want to get your season tickets. How do you do that? ShreveportLittleTheater.com is the way you do it. You experience American theater at its best. 812 Margaret Place, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. Good to have Jay Merle here.
Here, David.
Yeah, well, it's good to have
missed
you.
y'all.
Yeah, well, we missed you too. I know you're working on a graduate degree in counseling at LSU Shreveport, and it's wonderful. So I'm glad that while you're off, you're spending some of that off time with us. Thank you.
You know, David, the reason I decided to do that is because in the 3 years I've done the program with you and Carla, I've learned so much. I've gained so many good things from just being here.
Thank you.
And it just sort of dawned on me, you know, this is something that I'd like to pursue a little further.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it very much.
I love it. I love it. 2 courses down and who knows how many to go.
Yes. Well, it's a day at a time. But
yeah,
I am still Pintail Roofing, David.
Oh, there you go.
And, you know, things are picking up in the residential side. Now,
I like it.
It's regrettable we had that windstorm that was, you know, once
we've
in
had a
100
lot
years.
of we've had a lot of weather that probably a lot of people have roof problems and they don't know they've got them yet.
Exactly. And if you call Pintail at 226-7663, we will come out and inspect your roof if you're concerned. Don't wait.
And don't try to get up there yourself.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
And don't
Number
wait.
one, if you get up there, you don't know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you don't, unless you got missing shingles or something. It's odd. But call us at 226-7663.
You'll do the hard part, get up on the roof.
We'll look at it. And now, if you've already filed a claim and you don't already have a roofer and you know, the insurance is working through, call us at Pintail and we'll help you navigate all that. Or if you want to file a claim, we'll come inspect your roof and tell you whether you ought to or not.
There you go.
So there you go.
There you go. Pintail Roofing. How do we get you?
226-ROOF, 226-7663.
That is
Give us a call.
Easy enough. We're talking this evening about really how do we listen? How do we listen without giving advice. Here's another strategy. Validate. Validate what? Validate feelings.
Yeah,
we all have them.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to be validated?
And if somebody is, number one, if somebody's come to you and they're sharing, something that is, you can tell it's they're putting themselves, they're making themselves vulnerable with you, then validate them. How do you validate them? Validate what they're feeling. If it's genuine, if you're doing it in a genuine way.
Because they can spot it if you're not.
Yeah, you need to, don't do it unless you genuinely feel this yourself. Validating somebody else's feelings is probably one of the most, not probably, it is one of the most powerful communication tool that there is. How do you do that? How do you validate somebody's feelings? I can understand why that was challenging to you.
Or even going back to what we were talking about, asking a question, that lets them know you were listening.
Yeah.
And then you can even append to the end of that. That must have really been hard.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And
or if I'd gone through that, I'd be angry too.
I'd be.
Yeah.
They need to know they're not alone, and you're there to help them not be alone.
Yeah. I'm sad. I'm sad that this is happening to you. I know you, and you don't deserve this, and I'm sad for you. But I'm listening. I'm here.
Yeah.
All of that is validating feeling. If you truly think this, and again, I'm not saying say something.
Yeah, don't make stuff up.
Don't make stuff up. But if you hear the person, and you really believe, hey, they're handling it pretty well, tell them that.
Yeah.
You handle that situation pretty doggone well. I'm really proud for you.
You've been through a lot, and the way you're handling this really seems to be very positive.
Yes.
You should really feel good about that. But man, this was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Safety. Another strategy is be a safe person. And what does that mean? Being a safe person to talk to.
Well, you hold confidences.
Yes. When somebody's vulnerable with you, and that, throwing out ideas and suggestions, that's a tempting thing, but that's advice giving. And you don't want to be too quick to do that. Again, too quick to do that makes the other person feel potentially like you're not really listening to me.
Throws
you're
them
not
off
hearing
track
me.
if you don't give. It can throw the whole game off track.
Definitely. So make it one of your big time goals to be a safe person to talk to. And that's about trust. Mm-hmm. That's about they know that what they tell you you're holding. Right. That's why for instance, in counseling, confidentiality is such an important thing that if you go to your counselor, you don't want to hear what you've told your counselor on the streets the next day. Just like if you go to reconciliation and you tell your priest something, you don't want to. You don't want it.
The downside of that for a priest is a little, but it's still a bad thing.
There you go. I did. Lauren is listening, and so she did, as I suspected that she would. Yeah. She told me what fail means.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
We need to commit this to memory, you and I, Jimmie. Mm-hmm. Fail. First attempt in learning.
There we go.
I like it.
Yeah, I love that too. So she wanted to give us one other thing. She said perhaps this would be a good strategy. Imagine that the person in front of you is the most important person in the world and contains the most important information for you at that moment. because that's truly the case.
It is, and that's really good.
Yeah, that person brought to your it was brought to your awareness and is interacting with you for a reason.
Yeah, the fact they're hanging around is such a profound compliment.
Yes.
You know, and you don't take that lightly.
And I love this last bit that she said. Also, listen to hear God in each person.
Because he's there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because that's most often how he speaks to us, how God speaks to us through others. She's pretty smart lady.
Smart cookie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another strategy, compassion. Practice it. Practice compassion. And what does that mean? Practicing compassion.
Having empathy.
Empathy, yes. And putting yourself in the other person's place. What would how would I feel if I was in that place? So maybe there's, the compassion, a lot of people have tried to figure out, okay, what does that mean? And there's no universal definition that everybody agrees on about compassion. But there's a lot of parts to it. And so some of the parts are a recognition of suffering, a recognition that suffering happens universally. It's a show of concern for anyone who is suffering, and practicing empathy there. Mm-hmm. It's stabilizing yourself when you listen to accounts of someone's suffering, and it's a desire or an acting to help someone alleviate suffering. That's compassion. And when compassion is
it feels like
applied,
emotional grace.
Ooh, I like that. Emotional grace.
That's good, Jimmie.
Yeah.
Because as you describe it, I just hear a lot of grace in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, first, we are all connected.
Yes.
And
grace is free.
Grace is free.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why they call it grace. Grace is like grits.
Yeah.
Well, grits in the South. I mean, a lot of people from the North come down here and this white blob is on their plate, right? What is this?
I'll have one grit.
I didn't order this. I don't know. You don't order grits, sir. You're in the South. Grits just come. It's like grace.
Grits happen.
Grits happen. I
like that. That's good.
We need some T-shirts. Grits happen. I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
We're talking how to actively listen without giving advice. That's what we're talking about today here on Strategies with Jimmie and Jay. And we'll be back. More strategies to come. Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jay Merle and Jimmie Bryant talking about how to listen without advice giving this evening. Have we given some? I don't want to ask if we've given good advice.
I think I've learned a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
What's one of your main takeaways?
I think the main thing is to really hone your skills at active listening, and everything we've talked about goes into that. And I have been working on that for a period of time now, and I find it very rewarding to really, really try and learn how to perfect that.
Yes.
You'll never perfect it, but you can get better and better at it, huh?
Amen. What's your takeaway, Jimmie?
My takeaway is that if you're putting effort into active listening, you're on the right path. You have to try.
Yeah.
It has to be a decision.
Just remember, if you don't take anything else away, not everybody that you talk to wants advice. And in fact, maybe a lot of people that we talk to don't want advice. They just need us to hear. They just want us, if only for a time. They want somebody to walk a little bit with them in their shoes.
Who doesn't want validation?
Amen. Amen.
I mean, and to how better to validate someone than to show real interest in them and pay attention to their story.
There you go.
That's, to my mind, the ultimate validation.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way.
I don't either.
Total. I think we're all on the same page there. So, if you do give advice, always ask. That first thing, ask.
Permission.
Ask if that's what you want before you do it.
Otherwise, it's intruding.
Yeah, because if somebody's being vulnerable with us and we judge them, even if we don't intend to, by advice giving, we're running the risk of them feeling judged. Okay, then the whole situation's blown. So, and we don't want that. We want to listen without giving advice. Jay Merle, Jimmie Bryant, thank you so much for being an integral part of Strategies for Living this evening.
Good to be back.
It's a pleasure.
Folks.
Hey, Dr. Golly's coming a week from today.
Oh, I can't wait. Look forward to it. Folks, thank you for being an integral part of Strategies for Living, and we appreciate our sponsors. Who are they? Well, they are Pintail Roofing,
Roof.
the Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Learning Rx, Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Jay Merle, for Jimmie Bryant, I'm David McMillian. See you next time on Strategies for Living.